Well, as the war in Palestinian territory continues and the humanitarian crisis intensifies, some Jewish people around the world are assessing their perspective on events. Many are committed and see no alternative to military action in Gaza. But for some American Jewish people, conservative and progressives, support for Israel is waning. Rachel Landsberg is a Jewish observant from New York and explained that to me.
Our starting point is deep connection to the land and people of Israel. And really, from that place of love, we're trying to build an Orthodox and observant Jewish voice for peace and end the occupation. So we really are thinking about the fundamental religious imperative that justice, equality, and dignity need to be pursued for everyone, for Jews, for Palestinians, and really for all people.
And when did you become a part of this group?
This group has been around in the United States really formally for about 6 months, but over the past 14 months, we've been starting having salon gatherings in people's homes where we had speakers come from around the world, from Israel and from the United States primarily, to talk about the situation in Israel and Palestine with a more critical perspective than the one that we were getting in our mainstream Jewish organizations and in our synagogues. So I've been involved over that time period.
And so, what has it been like having some of these conversations and what sounds like shifting from some private conversations to now having them more publicly?
First of all, I think it's been really important that we are in community when we have these conversations where we can be with each other, with other Jews who we're a place where we feel loved and respected and understood, and yet also deeply uncomfortable with what's been happening in Israel and Palestine, what's been happening in Gaza, what's been happening in the West Bank. And I think being in community, being in smaller conversations has girded us with the strength to speak up more and really have other people join the conversation. So we started out, small groups in living rooms, 20, 30, 40 people. We had a conference in March where there were 400 people in person and 400 people on live stream. And really the sense in the room was a sense of, thank goodness that there are other people who are really grappling in the same way, who love Israel and feel deeply connected to Israel, but who are feeling more and more uncomfortable, horrified, upset about the situation unfolding in Gaza.
What does it feel like to you when you're able to express that view?
I think it's important to be able to express that view. I love Israel, and I've spent years living there. I have family there and friends there. I believe in the idea of a safe home for the Jewish people. I understand why the Jewish homeland was created, and it pains me that there's an occupation going on and that there's this war, the starvation that's happening in Gaza, and it doesn't speak to my Jewish principles, my Jewish values. And I think that we're really living in a time right now where we have to think about what are the Jewish values that we want to lift up? What are the values that speak to us in this time? And for me, it's really goes back to that, the creation story in the Torah, in the Jewish Bible, where, all human beings are created in the image of God and have the divine spark in them. And so for me, what it means to be an observant Jew is a Jew where I believe that the dignity of all human beings matter. And I don't see that being acted out. And that's the conflict. I think that we can figure out how to move forward and how to have a homeland for both peoples.
When you talk about your movement growing, has there been a noticeable change, do you think, over the past month or so or recent weeks when it comes to how things are playing out in Gaza? How is that affecting your movement and the conversations that people are having or views they have?
Yeah, I would say that there's a growing group of observant Jews, still small but growing, who are really demanding different actions with regard to what is happening in Gaza, as well as to the ongoing occupation and settler violence in the West Bank. I think that why exactly that's turned or why that's changed over the last bit of time. I mean, there's been really devastation building in Gaza for quite a while now, but I think that it's just become more and more pronounced, and people are feeling, some people in my community, and again, I'm speaking from what I observe, are feeling like this war needs to end. The hostages need to come home. The war needs to end. The devastation in Gaza needs to end. The famine needs to end, and that we need to do what we can to make that happen.
Speaking to me earlier, that was Rachel Landsberg from New York, who's a Jewish observant, speaking to me about some changing or assessing of views.
This is Newsday on the BBC World Service. 10 minutes.